When life feels heavy and everything seems to be falling apart, remember this: God hasn't forgotten you. The silence you hear is not absence, it's preparation. Every delay, every disappointment, every closed door is leading you closer to what He has planned for you. This message is not a coincidence. It's a reminder from above that your story isn't over yet. You may be tired, you may be struggling, but God is whispering to your heart, don't give up. The pain you feel right now is shaping you for the purpose you were born to fulfill. Hold on, stay faithful, and trust that what's coming will be greater than what you've lost. God's timing is never late, even though it may not align with your expectations. We live in a world that values speed, instant results, and immediate answers, but God operates on a divine schedule that is built around purpose, not pressure. When you pray for something and it doesn't happen right away, it's easy to assume that God isn't listening or that He's forgotten about you. But the truth is, delay is not denial, it's divine preparation. God knows what's ahead of you. He sees the paths you cannot see, the dangers you don't know exist, and the people who may not be ready for what He's preparing you for. There's a reason the process takes time. God uses waiting seasons to build patience, character, and trust. If He gave you everything you asked for instantly, you wouldn't be prepared to handle it. Sometimes the very thing you're asking for could overwhelm you if you received it too soon. Think about a seed planted in the soil. It doesn't bloom overnight. It stays hidden, unseen, while roots are forming beneath the surface. That's what God is doing in your life. He's building strong roots so that when you finally bloom, you won't wither under pressure. The hidden work He's doing right now is the foundation for your future blessings. When you feel stuck or forgotten, that's when faith becomes real. Faith is not believing that God can do it. It's believing He will, even when nothing makes sense. Many people in the Bible experienced long waiting seasons before their breakthroughs. Joseph was in prison before he reached the palace. David was anointed as king, but had to wait years before wearing the crown. Even Jesus waited 30 years before beginning His ministry. God used their waiting seasons to refine their hearts and prepare them for greater purpose. The same is true for you. Your delay does not mean defeat. It's part of God's design to align your heart, your mindset, and your circumstances with His perfect will. Sometimes God will withhold something from you, not because you don't deserve it, but because He wants to protect you from something you can't yet see. What looks like a closed door might actually be divine protection. The job you didn't get, the relationship that ended, the plan that fell apart, all of it may have been God's way of saying, "Not yet. I have something better." When you trust His timing, you free yourself from anxiety and disappointment. You begin to understand that every moment of waiting has meaning. So while you're waiting, don't grow bitter, grow better. Use this time to strengthen your faith, sharpen your skills, and deepen your relationship with God. Because when the time is right, everything will fall into place in a way that will leave no doubt. It was God who made it happen. His timing may not be your timing, but it's always the right time. Trust that He knows what He's doing, and one day you'll look back and realize that every delay was part of the plan that led you exactly where you were meant to be. Every struggle you face has a purpose, even when it feels senseless and painful. Life's challenges often seem unfair, but behind every obstacle is a lesson, a reason, and a transformation waiting to unfold. God never allows pain without purpose. The struggles you endure are not random events. They are part of a divine process, shaping you into the person you are meant to become. Sometimes we pray for strength, and God gives us challenges to make us stronger. We ask for patience, and He allows us to wait. We ask for courage, and He places us in situations that test our fear. In these moments, it's easy to feel abandoned or forgotten, but what's truly happening is growth beneath the surface, growth you may not yet see. Pain is often God's way of preparing you for something greater. Just as gold must go through fire to be purified, you too must go through seasons of testing to reveal your true strength. Struggles build endurance, character, and faith. Without them, you would never learn resilience. You would never discover the power of perseverance or the depth of your faith. The storms in your life don't come to destroy you. They come to strengthen your foundation. Every tear, every disappointment, and every heartbreak carries a message. I am still working in you. When you face hardship, it's natural to ask, why me? But instead of focusing on the pain, ask, what is this teaching me? God uses difficult seasons to stretch your faith and draw you closer to Him. Sometimes the only way we truly learn to rely on God is when everything else falls apart. When you lose control, you begin to see that He was in control all along. Your struggles are not signs of weakness. They are proof that you are being refined, reshaped, and redirected towards something better. Think of a sculptor chiseling a block of stone. Every strike of the hammer may seem harsh, but with each hit, the rough edges fall away, and the masterpiece begins to take shape. That's what God is doing in your life. The pain is not punishment, it's purpose. You are being molded into a version of yourself that can handle the blessings waiting ahead. If life were easy, you'd never discover your true strength or the depth of your faith. There will be moments when you feel like giving up, when the weight of your struggles seems too heavy to bear. But remember, God would not allow you to go through something if it didn't have a reason. The very thing that is testing you now will one day become your testimony. The challenges that once broke you will become the stories that inspire others. Every wound you carry will eventually reveal wisdom. The strength you are building in this season will carry you through the next. So hold on, even when it hurts. Trust that your pain is producing something powerful. One day, you'll look back and thank God not just for the blessings, but for the battles too, because they made you who you are. Every struggle has a purpose, and through it all, God is preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. Faith over fear is one of the most powerful principles you can live by. Life will always bring uncertainty, challenges, and moments that test your courage. But when you choose faith instead of fear, you invite God to take control of what you cannot handle. Fear whispers that you're not enough, that things will never change, that you're alone in your struggle. But faith speaks louder. Faith says that no matter how dark it gets, there is still light ahead. Faith doesn't remove the storm, but it gives you peace in the middle of it. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about trusting that God's reality is bigger than your circumstances. Fear is a natural emotion, but when it rules your life, it steals your joy, your dreams, and your sense of purpose. It keeps you stuck where you are, convincing you to settle for less than what God intended. Faith, on the other hand, is movement. It pushes you forward when everything in you wants to quit. It reminds you that God didn't bring you this far to leave you now. When you trust Him fully, even without knowing the outcome, you declare that His power is greater than your problems. Faith is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to keep walking even when fear is screaming at you to stop. Throughout history, people of great faith have faced enormous challenges, yet they overcame because they believed in something bigger than their fears. David faced Goliath with nothing but faith. Moses stood before the Red Sea with no visible solution, yet faith made a way. Daniel walked into the lion's den with confidence that God would protect him. Each of these moments teaches us that courage doesn't come from strength alone, it comes from trust. When you trust God completely, fear loses its power. There will be times when fear feels overwhelming, when your mind is filled with doubt and your heart is heavy with worry. In those moments, remember that fear is temporary, but faith is eternal. Fear feeds on what you see. Faith thrives on what you believe. You might not see the path ahead, but you can trust that God has already prepared the way. He has never failed you before, and He won't start now. Every time you choose faith over fear, you grow stronger. Every time you refuse to let fear control your choices, you build spiritual muscle. Choosing faith doesn't mean life becomes easy. It means you gain the strength to face whatever comes your way. When you stand firm in faith, fear cannot shake you. It may still knock at your door, but it no longer determines your steps. You begin to live with peace, knowing that God's hand is on your life, guiding and protecting you. The more you trust Him, the less power fear has over you. So the next time you feel afraid, pause and remind yourself, God is bigger than this. He is with you, within you, and fighting for you. Fear says, what if it all goes wrong? But faith says, what if it all goes right? When you choose faith over fear, you choose freedom, freedom to walk boldly into your destiny, knowing that with God on your side, you have nothing to fear. You are closer to your breakthrough than you think. The moment when you feel like giving up is often the moment right before everything starts to change. Life has a way of testing you the hardest when you are on the edge of transformation. That's when doubt creeps in, when the weight of your struggles feels too heavy to carry, and when you start to wonder if all your effort has been for nothing. But what you don't see is that God is working behind the scenes, arranging things in your favor. The pain you're feeling, the challenges you're facing, and the silence you're hearing are all signs that something is shifting. You are being stretched because your blessing requires more strength, more faith, and more endurance than you currently have. Many people give up not because they can't succeed, but because they don't realize how close they are to a breakthrough. It's like a miner digging for gold who stops just inches before reaching the treasure. The same thing happens in life. The breakthrough often comes after the hardest struggle. Every trial you've endured, every sleepless night, every tear you've shed has been watering the seed of your destiny. Just because you can't see growth doesn't mean it isn't happening. Some of the greatest miracles happen quietly, beneath the surface, where faith is tested and character is built. There will be moments when progress feels invisible. You'll pray and hear nothing. You'll work hard and see no results. You'll keep believing and still face disappointment, but that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're being refined. God allows these moments not to punish you, but to strengthen your perseverance. The closer you get to your breakthrough, the greater the resistance becomes. That's because growth is uncomfortable. You're being pushed beyond your limits, not to break you, but to prepare you for what's coming next. Think about a butterfly struggling to emerge from its cocoon. To the outside world, it looks painful and exhausting. But if someone tried to help by breaking the cocoon for it, the butterfly would never gain the strength it needs to fly. The struggle is necessary for transformation. The same applies to you. Every difficulty you face is strengthening your wings, preparing you to soar higher than you ever imagined. When you feel like giving up, that's the moment you need to push a little harder. You've already come too far to stop now. Every battle you've fought, every sacrifice you've made, has brought you one step closer to your promise. God hasn't brought you this far to abandon you at the finish line. He's preparing to open doors that no one can shut, to restore what you've lost, and to reward the faith that kept you moving when everything in you wanted to quit. So hold on. Don't lose hope just because you can't see the full picture yet. Keep believing, keep praying, keep moving forward, even if it's one small step at a time. You are closer than you think, and what's waiting for you on the other side of this struggle will make every moment of pain worth it. God sees every effort you make, even the ones no one else notices. He sees the nights you cry quietly, the moments you choose kindness when it's hard, the times you keep believing when everything around you tells you to quit. Nothing you do in faith goes unseen or unrewarded. When you stay faithful in small things, when you continue to do what's right even when it feels like it doesn't matter, God takes notice. He records every act of obedience, every prayer whispered in pain, every step of faith you take when you can't see the road ahead. You may think your effort is invisible, but in heaven it's seen clearly. Sometimes it's easy to believe that God only rewards big achievements, dramatic changes, or loud acts of faith, but God values the quiet consistency, the unseen moments when you choose to trust Him, even when there's no visible sign of progress. He sees when you get up early to pray, when you forgive someone who hurt you, when you give even when you have little, and when you stay true to your values despite pressure. These are the moments that build spiritual strength and show true faith. God doesn't miss a single one of them. You might feel overlooked by people. Maybe your efforts at work, in relationships, or in your spiritual life go unappreciated. But people's recognition isn't what defines your worth or your progress. God's approval matters far more. The Bible reminds us that what we do in secret, God will reward openly. When you keep sowing seeds of faith, love, and perseverance, even when there's no immediate harvest, you can be sure that in due time, God will bring forth a reward that exceeds your expectations. There are seasons when your effort feels like it's producing nothing. You pray but see no change. You give your best but face disappointment. You do the right thing but still experience hardship. In those moments, remember that God is not ignoring you. He's preparing something greater, something that requires time to unfold. Just because you don't see results doesn't mean your work is wasted. Seeds take time to grow. Beneath the surface, God is nurturing what you've planted. He's aligning people, opportunities, and circumstances for your breakthrough. When you feel exhausted from trying, remind yourself that God's eyes are on you. He sees your faithfulness in every season, the good, the bad, and the uncertain. He knows your heart, your intentions, and your struggles, and He promises that your labor in faith will never be in vain. You may not get recognition today, but your reward is already on its way, so don't stop now. Keep praying, keep believing, keep giving your best, even when no one claps for you. God is watching, and He's proud of you for not quitting. Your unseen effort is creating an unseen blessing that will one day appear right before your eyes. Every act of faith matters, and when the time is right, God will make sure the world sees what He has seen in you all along, your perseverance, your strength, and your unwavering trust in Him. Keep moving forward, even when progress feels slow, even when the road ahead looks uncertain, and even when your strength is fading. Movement is faith in action. Every small step you take is a declaration that you trust God's plan more than your present pain. Life is not about running at full speed every day. It's about taking consistent steps, no matter how small, in the direction of your purpose. When you choose to keep moving instead of standing still in fear or doubt, you show God that your faith is alive. He blesses those who refuse to give up, who continue to walk even when the destination is not yet in sight. So many people stop right before they see results. They get tired, frustrated, and discouraged by the waiting. But what they don't realize is that progress often happens in silence. God is working even when it seems like nothing is changing. The growth you can't see is often the most important kind, the kind that happens inside of you. Each step forward, no matter how small, is shaping your character, strengthening your patience, and deepening your trust in God. Even when it feels like you're walking in circles, you're actually being prepared for something greater. Think about how the Israelites wandered in the wilderness for years. To them, it might have seemed like they were stuck, but in reality, God was preparing them for the promise. The journey was building endurance, obedience, and faith. The same is true for you. Every time you choose to move forward instead of giving in to fear, you're building spiritual muscle. You're learning how to trust when the path isn't clear. You're proving to yourself and to God that your faith is stronger than your frustration. Moving forward doesn't always mean making huge changes or seeing immediate breakthroughs. Sometimes it's as simple as waking up and choosing to try again, to pray again, to believe again. God never asked for perfection, He asked for persistence. When you move forward, you align yourself with His purpose. Even if you stumble or fall, He can only guide you if you're still in motion. It's much harder to steer a parked car than one that's moving. In the same way, God can direct your life more easily when you keep taking steps forward, trusting that He'll lead you where you need to go. There will be days when it feels easier to stop, to let the weight of life press you down, but don't let discouragement freeze your faith. God honors perseverance. The effort you put in today is building the strength you'll need tomorrow. Every prayer, every act of faith, every moment you choose to keep going adds up. So keep moving. Even when you don't feel it, even when you can't see the results, keep taking one step at a time. God is walking beside you, even when you don't sense His presence. The steps you take today, no matter how small, are leading you toward the victory He has already written for your life. Keep moving forward. Your breakthrough is waiting just ahead. Silence doesn't mean God has abandoned you. There will be times in life when you pray and hear nothing, when you search for answers but find only quiet, when it feels like heaven itself has gone still. Those moments can be the hardest to endure because silence makes you question everything: your faith, your purpose, and even your worth. But silence is not the same as absence. God is still there, working behind the scenes, even when you can't feel Him. His silence is often a sign that He's doing something deeper, something that requires patience, trust, and faith beyond what you've known before. Sometimes God is silent because He's testing your faith. It's easy to believe when you can clearly see His hand moving, when prayers are answered quickly, and blessings are obvious. But real faith grows in the quiet, in the times when you have to trust without evidence, when you keep praying even when nothing changes. In those moments, God is teaching you to rely on His presence, not just His voice. He's showing you that faith isn't about feelings, it's about belief. There are also times when God silences protection. You might be asking for something that looks good to you now, but could harm you later. His silence might be His way of saying, "Wait, I have something better." What feels like rejection could actually be redirection. God sees the bigger picture, the things you don't know, the people you haven't met yet, the situations that haven't unfolded. If He's not answering right now, it's because He knows the right time will bring a better outcome. His silence is His strategy. When you go through these quiet seasons, it's important not to mistake them for abandonment. God doesn't disappear when life gets hard. He draws closer, even if you can't sense it. Just like a teacher stays silent during a test, God's quietness doesn't mean He's left the classroom. It means He's waiting to see what you'll do with what He's already taught you. Will you keep trusting, keep praying, and keep believing even when you don't get immediate feedback? That's when your faith is truly proven. In these moments, choose to rest instead of panic. Silence is a sacred space where God strengthens your spirit and clears away the noise so you can hear Him more clearly when He does speak again. It's in the stillness that you learn patience, humility, and surrender. You start to realize that your relationship with God isn't based on how often you hear from Him, but on how deeply you trust Him when you don't. So if you're in a season of silence, don't lose hope. God hasn't forgotten you. He's preparing you. What looks like a pause is actually progress. Behind the quiet, He's aligning things in your favor, setting up the right opportunities, and shaping you into the person who can handle the blessing that's coming. One day, the silence will break, and you'll see that God was speaking all along, not through words, but through His perfect timing. Letting go and trusting God is one of the hardest yet most powerful things you can do. As human beings, we naturally want to control outcomes. We want to plan, predict, and make sense of everything happening in our lives. But there comes a time when you must realize that no matter how hard you try, some things are simply beyond your control. That's where surrender comes in. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means handing over your worries, your fears, and your plans to the one who already knows how it all will unfold. It means saying, God, I don't understand what's happening, but I trust that you do. When you hold on too tightly to your own expectations, you often block what God is trying to give you. Sometimes what you think you want is not what you truly need. You may be clinging to people, opportunities, or plans that were only meant to be temporary. God knows when something or someone no longer serves your purpose, and His way of protecting you might be to remove what's holding you back. The problem is, when that happens, it hurts. You question His reasons, you resist the change, and you try to force things back to how they were. But true peace comes when you stop fighting and start trusting. Trust is not built in comfort, it's built in surrender. When you let go of control, you're not losing power, you're gaining faith. You're saying to God, I believe that your way is better than mine. And even though you can't see the full picture right now, you can rest knowing that He's painting something beautiful with your life. Letting go allows God to move freely. When your hands are open instead of clenched, you give Him room to place new blessings, new people, and new opportunities in your life. There will be moments when surrender feels impossible, especially when the thing you're letting go of means everything to you. Maybe it's a dream, a relationship, or a plan that you've built your hopes around. But sometimes holding on too tightly causes more pain than letting go ever will. God can't fill your hands with new blessings if you're still clinging to old burdens. He's asking you to trust Him enough to release what's no longer meant for you. Because what's meant for you will never pass you by, and what's not meant for you will never stay, no matter how much you try to hold it. Letting go is an act of faith. It's choosing to believe that even in loss, God is working for your good. It's believing that every closed door is a form of protection, and every ending is the beginning of something greater. When you release control, you'll find peace that you never knew existed, and a peace that comes from knowing you're not walking alone. God's plans are always higher, His timing always perfect, and His love always constant. So take a deep breath, unclench your heart, and trust Him. What He has in store for you will always be worth the wait, and one day you'll look back and realize that letting go was the moment your true freedom began. One day you will look back on everything you've been through and realize that none of it was wasted. Every struggle, every heartbreak, every sleepless night will make sense because it shaped you into someone stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. The pain you're enduring right now is not just about you. It's part of a bigger story that God is writing, one that will inspire and uplift others. Your story will become someone else's hope. The very thing that once broke you will become the message that helps someone else keep going. God never wastes pain. He transforms it into purpose. When you go through hard times, it's easy to feel isolated, to believe that no one could ever understand what you're feeling. But what if the very thing that's hurting you now becomes the reason someone else finds healing later? God uses ordinary people with extraordinary testimonies to touch lives. The strength you're building through your challenges is not just for you. It's so you can stand as a living example of what faith can do. Someone out there will need to hear your story to believe that they can make it too. That's how God works. He turns your wounds into wisdom, your pain into power, and your trials into testimony. There are times when you may wonder why God allowed certain things to happen, why you had to lose so much, or why you had to walk through darkness before seeing the light. But every story that inspires others comes from someone who refused to give up. You are in the process of becoming that person. Your perseverance, your faith, and your courage are not just shaping your destiny. They're preparing you to impact others. One day, your words, your experiences, and your victory will remind someone that miracles are real. Sometimes God allows you to face difficult seasons not to punish you, but to equip you. He's building empathy within you, teaching you how to comfort others with the same comfort He gave you. When you survive something you once thought would break you, you carry a new kind of strength, a quiet confidence that speaks louder than words. People will see your peace and wonder how you made it through, and in that moment, your life becomes a living testimony of God's faithfulness. So even when it hurts, keep walking. Keep believing that one day your story will make sense. You don't have to have it all figured out right now. Just know that every tear you've shed is watering a seed of purpose. One day, it will grow into something beautiful, a story that brings hope to others who are struggling. You'll look back and realize that the pain wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to reveal the strength that was already inside you. Your story matters. It's being written by the hands of a faithful God who never makes mistakes. So hold on to hope, because one day you'll see that the same story that brought you to your knees will be the one that lifts others to their feet.